I'm here today with my good friend Suzette Ann Bates from California, and she is a convert to the Catholic faith, and she has quite an interesting story to tell about her conversion experience. Are you there, Suzette?
Yes, I am.
Suzette, maybe you could just begin by telling us a little bit about your childhood, leading up into your young adult years. Like, I assume you were baptized into a Catholic family.
Oh, my mother is Catholic. My dad's an atheist. Yes, I was born in Spain. My dad was in the Air Force, and I was baptized when I was less than a month old in Spain. Vatican II. And I lived in Texas, Germany, Wyoming, and then out here in California.
So you said Vatican II, so that would be like the 60s?
I was born in 1962.
62. That was actually the year that the Vatican Council opened, I believe.
Oh, that's right, but the rites hadn't been changed yet.
Correct. So you were baptized in Spain in the traditional form of baptism.
Right.
But where did you basically grow up, though? In the United States or in Spain?
You know, almost a year in Spain, about almost 3 years in Texas, about 4 years in Germany, 6 years in Wyoming, and then out here in Southern California.
Wow. So basically the United States of America, and moving around quite a bit as a child.
Well, for the majority of my life.
Yes. So, like, how was that? That must have been quite a unsettling experience to go from like one city to another city, you know, having to make new friends, go to a different school.
No, it wasn't, because I lived when I was in, this little baby in Spain and Texas, so I didn't know any difference. But in Germany and Wyoming, I lived in both places quite a long time, and before moving out here, so no, that wasn't a problem.
But where did you spend like most of your young adult life? In California?
I was in junior high school in Wyoming, and then high school out here.
Which out here is California. California. Okay. So this would have been like the 1960s, 1970s, approximately?
California, I moved here in 1976.
76, okay. What was it like as far as society? I mean, there were a lot of societal changes that took place in those years. I mean, as far as morals and styles of dress even changed a lot. There were a lot of cultural changes during the 60s and 70s. Did you see, like, could you tell from year to year that things were getting a lot more, like, kind of loose or bohemian or whatever?
So not until I converted to traditional Catholicism, no.
Then you noticed the differences more.
Yeah, I was very sheltered up through high school. Not until I got into junior college did I, really party.
So, like, what was the extent of your catechism? Like, what sort of religious training? Like, did you have sisters teaching you, or?
Oh, no, I went to public school, and then for my catechism, which we called CCD, it wasn't sisters or monks or anything, just regular lay people. And looking back on it, it was a very poor catechism in the Novus Ordo, and I didn't learn anything about the Catholic faith.
Wait, let's be clear when we say Novus Ordo, because a lot of people might not know what that means. Novus Ordo basically means post-Vatican II. Is that what you mean? Okay, just to be clear on that. So you were growing up, like, I guess many people who were baptized Catholics in the 1960s grew up in a similar culture, to your culture. I mean, probably not just the United States of America, but the whole world. And so your experience, excuse me, your experience was probably not, atypical.
No.
Um, What about as far as peer pressure to do certain things? I mean, everybody deals with that, but was there a certain kind of like peer pressure to maybe kind of like go against the values of your parents, or to break the law, or do, I'm thinking of the movie right now, was it Rebel Without a Cause, kind of to break the law and to do bad things or silly things. Was there that kind of pressure when you were?
Peer pressure. That came from me.
Oh, you just didn't care. You just wanted to.
I thought it was all right and fine, and nothing wrong with what I did. For the most part.
Okay. So, like, do you care to go into what you did? I mean, if you don't want to say what you did, I mean, just so that people get an idea of what kinds of issues you were dealing with as a teenager and young adult.
Well, when I told you in high school, I was pretty sheltered. But when I went to college and in the theater department and stuff.
Oh, you were involved with theater.
I partied a lot.
Did you just say theater?
Yes.
Oh, I never knew that you were involved with theater. Wow.
I was in quite a few plays.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Now, like, what about as far as like your spirituality at this time? Like, you said that you would have called yourself, if someone would have asked you, like, what your religion was, would you have said Catholic or no?
When I was growing up, and then my mom, made us all go to church every Sunday until we were, or for Saturday nights, as another sort of has,
right.
Until we were 18.
Uh-huh.
And then I went beyond that a little bit because I was in the church choir, so I would have said Catholic, but I'm not devout at all, not really into it.
Okay. So back then, the rites had already changed, like to
right.
the current, okay, we're going to have another special guest explain about that. But so basically, you would have identified yourself as a Catholic, correct?
Well, back then, yes.
Yes, okay. But what about as far as, like, lifestyle? Like, wasn't this the time when people were kind of, like, exploring themselves, like psychology? Didn't that become, like, more of a vogue thing back then in the 70s and, like, early 80s? Like, wasn't that more prevalent in the culture at that time to investigate, like, the quote-unquote New Age movement? That's what I'm bringing up here. Wasn't that...
I didn't get to any of that until I went to community college.
Okay, so why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
So I was never really, devout or anything, and then there was this book at the college bookstore about comparative religions.
Comparative religions, oh, that's interesting. A lot of people are into that. Like comparative religions, not just, Calvinism or Methodism or Judaism, but like looking at all the religions as if there's some sort of unity, as if there's some sort of unity within all the religions. Right.
And it seems to me the focus was on like the Eastern religions, and I kind of got into that. I never got into anything really heavy. I just kind of just smattering of this and that, and got involved in the psychic stuff, the witchcraft, the UFOs. I mean, the whole deal.
So were you actually in like a witch's coven or anything like that?
Oh, no. I was more of a freelancer, but I was never disciplined enough or was too lazy to really do anything more than half-heartedly, just kind of dabbling.
You mean like in magic and things like that?
Yeah.
Wow. So what are like the warning signs? I'm kind of giving you an opportunity to tell people, like, what should they be careful of when they look at, say, the religion section in their local bookstore? Like a lot of people blur the boundary of like say holistic health and maybe some of the not so good stuff. You know, you know what I mean by holistic health, like naturopathic healing and kind of relaxation, yoga, all, you know, different kinds of therapies. Like, what should people like watch out for when they're dealing with um, that kind of knowledge, and what are like the warning signs for them?
Well, I don't know, but I know, because now being a traditional Catholic, looking back on it, that, you know, that we're all part of God. We just haven't realized it yet. Once we find our higher self, then we'll realize that we really are God.
Uh-huh.
And we really are perfect already. We just have to realize it.
Wow, how interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like the whole man is God thing. That, wouldn't you say that that's the, now that you've become a Catholic and
Right.
examine these issues more fully, like, wouldn't you say that that's the primary, we'll call it an error of our day, is that man is all he needs? I mean, man needs to just, this is the error, of course, that man just needs to realize his full potential and live with his brother and sister in harmony, you know,
Right.
then he'll achieve this, like, greatness. But I guess you could also say that, well, what about after death? I mean, what happens then? I mean, you'll be dead and forgotten, and what? Go ahead. You were going to say something. I have another question for you, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, I used to believe in reincarnation, so eventually you'll get perfected, and so, you know, eventually, you know.
Uh-huh. See, that was my question, is, like, what about, how would someone like yourself back then explain life after death? And you mentioned the reincarnation. So you thought that you might get reincarnated as like a bug or a...
Oh, no, I never believed in that. Always as a human being.
Oh, another human being.
Oh, yes.
So like Suzette Bates could be, you know, the reincarnation of some other person, like in the, you know, like Renaissance or some period or something.
Right, but I thought I had, you know, many lives before this.
But you had just forgotten about them.
Right.
Wow. So what about as far as parents? Like, if any parents are listening to this show and they have daughters, I know you did mention the man is God. Like, would you say, like, is there anything that you can see in the culture right now, like specifically, that like a lot of the young women are getting into, that you would definitely warn the parents who are listening to steer clear of, or at least be aware that this kind of stuff can cause problems? Is there anything specifically that you can think of looking right now? Like, would you say that the quote-unquote New Age world is very similar to the way it was when you were younger, or would you say that there are some newer things and maybe even more dangerous elements of this coming up now?
Well, I just think it's gotten more prevalent and more accepted and more widespread.
Like, I'm thinking particularly of some of the books that are out now. As someone who has studied books, you know, I'm pretty familiar with a lot of the children's literature currently in the market, currently in vogue. And yes, I definitely say that I would concur that a lot of the ideas that were more hidden, wouldn't you say that a lot of these were more hidden from the mainstream, and now it's kind of like all just like out in the open?
Well, there's more of it.
But there's more of it. Okay. And just to wrap this up, maybe you could tell us a bit how you found the traditional Catholic faith as a pagan, basically, although Catholic in name. How did you how did you start going to the traditional Latin Mass? Maybe you could start out with that.
Okay, well, definitely the Holy Ghost guiding me. I used to listen to Art Bell radio show.
Art Bell, Coast to Coast AM, yeah.
Right, and Father Malachi Martin was a frequent guest, and, you know, I liked him and all, listened, but I wasn't really Catholic then, so I didn't think too much about it. But then I was going to the bookstore, and I got these books by Rudolf Steiner, and who seemed to me at the time kind of like a Christian. I know better now, more of a Gnostic. But and so I thought, oh, I'm a Christian again. And then the Art Velvet replays of Malachi Martin, and so then I was more interested, and I thought, oh, I think I want to read his books. So I read some of his books, and when I got to what's the name of the book I told you about?
Just maybe we should clarify who Malachi Martin is. Malachi Martin is I guess he was a Jesuit priest, right? Correct?
Yes.
But didn't he get dispensed from his vow or something of obedience?
Right.
Okay, so he's a former Jesuit priest, and he has since passed on, correct?
But he was still a priest.
Right, but he has since passed on. He's no longer with us. He's dead.
Right.
Yes. So, and he wrote several books throughout his career.
Book that starts with the Black Mass in the Vatican, in Rome.
Right, but before he was an author, wasn't he some sort of high-ranking person, in the Vatican or something?
I think so.
Yeah, you think so? Wasn't he with John the 23rd? He talked to him, or?
I think so.
Okay, and Cardinal Bea.
Right.
So anyway, so.
The book was Windswept House.
Yeah. So.
It talked about the Latin Mass, and there was a family who was a priest come to their home. And it sounded so wonderful, and it talked about the priest in the book saying the rosary, and so, and wearing scapulars, so I went to the local Bonaventure Mission gift shop, and I bought a scapular, and I put it on, and I started saying the rosary, and then I thought, oh, I want to check out this Latin Mass, it sounds really neat. So I went on the internet, and I found the Indult Mass from Bonaventure Mission. That was my first Latin Mass, and then...
Okay. Just so... I'm sorry to interrupt, but just so we clarify this, by indult mass you mean the Latin Mass, but with the diocese or the archdiocese that you're in.
Right.
Okay. And so Windswept House, that was actually Father Malachi Martin's last book before he died, correct?
Sure.
Yes, it was.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He died in 1990 or so. But anyway, go ahead. Keep going.
And then as I got more educated, I realized there was something wrong with the Indult Mass. And we, at that time, had valid priests, but the hosts they were giving out were so-called consecrated during a Novus Ordo so-called Mass, and so that wasn't valid. And then being associated with diocese I didn't like, so I found another Mass that was being said at a funeral home. And I came upon the Most Holy Family Monastery website, and I read about sedevacantism.
Wait, let's slow down a little bit. So when you say you went to a Mass in a funeral home, that was like a regular church, but they had...
It was a non-denominational funeral home, like call it like the chapel.
But they had the altar there.
No.
It was brought in.
Right.
Yeah. And then when you say Most Holy Family Monastery, there are some brothers out in New York?
Yes.
Okay. And then when you say sedevacantism, that just might go over somebody's head. We'll talk about these issues more in detail. I'm just giving Suzette a chance to explain her story. But anyway, go on. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Which basically means that the See of Peter is vacant, that we have no pope. And from their website, their excellent articles, I realized we haven't had a pope since Pope Pius XII died in October of 1958. So I wanted to find a priest who said a Mass, who did not say an unicum Mass, which means in union with the Pope. Since we had no Pope, how could I go to a Mass that is in union with this anti-Pope? So I looked on the internet and I found a priest who said did not say Masses at that time, unicum. And also I wanted to find a priest who, well, I'm not going to go to that. Never mind.
Okay. But now, when you say you were going to the Latin Mass, does that mean you had already decided to stop going to the local parish church that you were going to in your city? Or had you not been...
I stopped that long ago.
I'm sorry?
I stopped that long ago before I became a New Ager pagan.
Oh, you stopped it long ago.
Well, actually, when I said went Latin Mass, I still thought the Novus Ordo was okay, but not as good, and I went to a few Masses until I found out it was wrong.
Right, so you weren't, like, very involved in your parish or anything like... It wasn't like a big, huge... I mean, it was, but it wasn't like a huge, big struggle for you to leave. Like, you kind of found the Latin Mass, and that was kind of like it for you. Would you say that you were almost won over by something that you experienced at that Mass?
I just noticed it was so beautiful, and there's so much to it as compared to the Novus Ordo, which just seems so empty.
Yeah, a lot of people do complain about that. Well, that's wonderful. That's really wonderful that you were able to just overcome all of those hurdles. I'm sure there's more to the story than what you say. I mean, wouldn't you agree?
Yes, and I must thank the Blessed Virgin Mary for my conversion.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I'm sure the intercession of Our Lady and some of the saints too. And you've been...
Yeah, my baptismal saint and Saint Philomena, my confirmation saint.
Would you say that, like, you've... a lot of people might be thinking, wow, I'm not sure I want to become a traditional Catholic because, like, nobody, well, maybe people might know about Mel Gibson, but some people may think, well, if I become a traditional Catholic, I'll lose my friends, which may be true, but have you felt, like, very isolated, or have you felt the support of others like yourself now that you've made this decision?
It didn't matter either way because my family doesn't really care either way.
But no, I mean as far as not your family, but like friends.
No, I never have any friends anyway.
Yeah, but I know some of your friends, and they're very good people.
Well, now it's my Catholic friends, yes.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Oh yes, that which is really wonderful.
Yeah, and maybe in one of these other shows, I may tell a little bit about myself. Well, hey, it was wonderful talking to you, Suzette. And was there anything else that you would like to say in parting to our listeners on Real Catholic Radio today?
Check out the Most Holy Family Monastery website, MaryImmaculateChapel.com website.
Okay, we may have some of those people on in the future. I know Brother Michael and Brother Peter. We may have them on in the future. I'm not positive, but we may be delving into some of those deep and controversial issues that you alluded to in your conversion story. But hey, thank you very much, Suzette, and God bless you. And thank you,
Matthew.
Thank you very much for appearing on our show tonight. Brought to you by the wonder of telephone technology today. And listeners, stay tuned. This is the first of hopefully many broadcasts on Real Catholic Radio. I'm your host, Matthew Thomas, and hopefully we'll be coming back to you soon with some more informational and educational guests to explain just the situation that we're in right now. It's kind of confusing time, so we hope to shed some truth on the situation and hopefully do the Lord's work here on Real Catholic Radio via the internet. God bless you.